Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Precision Rifle Media. This week we are talking to some of our friends up in the Great White North, up in their Pristine Actions. I forget the name of the little town they're in. I'm sure they know where they live, so they'll let us know. But we're going to talk about Pristine Actions. They look pretty cool. I'm really interested to hear about them. We've got Jared and Joe with us. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to bring them in and let them introduce themselves, who they are, who Pristine is, what their role is there, and we'll go from there. So I guess who wants to kick it off? Jared, Joe, I've talked to you already, Joe. So you want to kick off who you are and what you do, and then we'll let Jared go.
Yeah, sure. I'm a born and raised here it's called Chilliwack. We're in British Columbia, Canada. Just grew up hunting, love guns. Actually, I'm an ordained Reverend gun international arms dealer. So that's my story. You like that part. Yeah. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm Jared Penner. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing here for Pristine. So, I've been absolutely loving it so far. Again, love Chilliwack where we live here. We are, about 20-minute drive from being out in the mountains and being able to shoot. We've got about, I'd say a range of just out in the wilderness where we can get out to 600 yards here locally. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Awesome. Yeah, it's cool to have a place that's you can shoot 600 yards just close by. I used to take it for granted, and now it's not as easy to find. Even out here in South Dakota, you still kind of gotta find an area.
Yeah.
There's always around here. There's always a house right in just the one spot where it'd be nice to not have a house there if you were going to be shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. What are the regulations, generally speaking? Like, are you allowed to shoot? Like, you have to be a certain distance off roads. What's the?
Yeah, you got to be. Yeah, kind of depends on the road. Like some of the no minimum maintenance roads and stuff like that, you can just shoot right down the road.
Yeah.
But or we do anyway. But yeah, otherwise like paved roads and stuff, you got to be so far away from them, and you got to be so far away from like occupied buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
If they're not yours.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of about it, really. I mean, then it's just making sure you're someplace safe.
Yeah. Is it pretty common for some people with private land to let shooters come on and do like long distance shooting, or is it generally like just finding a more public park area? Like, how does it work on that?
All right, man. All right. Who's doing the interview here?
I'm really curious.
No, it is. Generally, right? So like, here's the deal. You go up to some farmer and you tell them, hey, I'd like to shoot like as far as I possibly can on your land. And they're like, no, if you don't know who they are, if you have a reputation with them, they know that you're somebody that can actually do it right and do it safely. Cause that's like half the thing, right? They hear you want to shoot a mile and they're like, there's no, you can't do that. You're not, you're going to kill somebody. And we don't want that,
Yeah.
But if you have a reputation, them, maybe have them out there, whatever, they'll usually let you. And I think it depends too, like, further west, right, where there's less stuff going on, if you live out west, like where I live, it's like the most populated part of South Dakota, so it is a little bit harder to find an area that's that doesn't have any people around. But you get out west, and there might be several thousand acres, and they might, I don't care, go do whatever you want, but generally they want to know that you're capable and safe, and they're not just going to let anybody go out there with a big gun and start winging rounds and stuff.
Yeah.
We're usually more worried about cattle and stuff than anything.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. And, up here, as long as we don't hit any igloos, then, we're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Igloos and, God, isn't there like some goofy Bigfoot? It's not Bigfoot. Don't you guys have something different up there?
Oh, yeah. That's the home right here in, like Chilliwack area is supposedly the stomping grounds.
Yeah. So there you go. Watch out for this. Watch out for the Sasquatch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cool. So, tell us about Pristine. Where did Pristine come from? Where did you guys come from? I mean, somebody started it. Somebody decided to start making actions. Somebody made it happen. There was a reason. What's going on?
Yeah. So, here in Chilliwack, we're actually quite a strong firearms community. There's some other companies that you guys would know of that are based here in Chilliwack as well in the firearms community. especially in the bolt gun world. And as a result, right, like we all talk, we're all friends, and our ownership started out with a machine shop and being very well reputed machinists. And they did quite a bit of work, and they do quite a bit of work in the firearms industry for major brands here in North America. And, with that machine shop and that experience, after a number of years, they went, okay, well, we see an opportunity in the bolt action world, specifically for bolt action receivers. It's a market that's growing. There's a lot happening there. And the idea was to do something innovative with a bolt action receiver itself, and specifically make it accessible to those that want to do high precision custom rifle builds with a bolt action receiver, right? So we'll get into some of the features a little bit later, but that was the goal, was to make something really accessible, right? That the average person could use, build, and enjoy long range precision shooting. So coupled with that, because it was started a little bit differently than most bolt action receiver companies, where it's a pro shooter that's successful for a number of years, retires, has a vision of a really cool action, makes it, and then their friends buy it and everybody lives happily ever after. We knew that wasn't our trajectory, right? Like, we're not a bunch of pro shooters that are well known in that world. So coming from that machining background, one of the other strengths of our leadership is really knowing how to run a business, right? So all of those things that aren't related to the actual action itself, whether it's pricing, customer service, lead times, shipping, all of those things, warranty stuff, all the things that go into making a successful business run. Our leadership has known that world really well for a long period of time. So the goal is to be able to come into the market and provide outstanding service in those areas.
Yeah.
And be able to really serve that, right?
Yeah. In the precision rifle world, I mean, like, taking care of the people, right, is pretty important. If you drop the ball one too many times, you're just going to stop seeing sales. I mean, it's like, look at some of the other companies that you used to see big time, right? And the customer service kind of started to dwindle a little bit, and now you don't really. There's a couple of companies out there, Optics are one of them, that one of the big companies, they just kind of dropped the ball on some of that stuff, and everybody's, well, why would I go there when I could spend the same money, get something better, and have somebody to talk to and shake a hand and get fixed if I have to,
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no, we took our time. We've been around now for just over a year, and time was taken in the development and testing of the action, but then also in the development of the company and its systems and processes, right? So a couple of things that I can kind of point to right off the bat are, if there's those that are looking to try out our action, being that it's not a universally known brand yet at this time, we have a loaner action program where they can try it, test it, no commitment there. We have a really strong dealer program with dealer pricing. We have dealer support programs. We have a parts program, right? So all of our dealers can access that sort of support at any time. If they need a spring, they need a this, that, the other, right? Really quick service right out to them. Doesn't cost them an arm and a leg. And we help them sort through anything that they're looking to do with the action, right?
Sure. Yeah, they have to support. Parts support is big, right? Need an extractor, need a, whatever, couple small parts. That can be a big deal, especially like, you start getting into stuff. Is it an M16, a mini M16, a Seiko, but if you can go right to the horse and get what you need.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we won't speak like disparaging about any other action companies, because there's so many great products out there, but we hear every week businesses working alongside these other action companies, and they've been laughed at, they've been mocked, they've been told it's their fault for breaking something. Just really bizarre experience when it comes to needing something fixed, needing a small piece, something that actually could be really simple becomes essentially, it becomes a big issue.
Yeah, exactly. So our goal is to support the shooting world, both in the dealers, the gunsmiths, the shooters themselves, competitive shooters. We're really passionate about shooting. None of us are professional shooters yet at this point. We're registered for some matches, and we're willing to get in there. And have a bunch of fun, right? But yeah, our goal is we're passionate about the shooting world and we want to support it. And whether that can be through the action itself or even our experience in business. Mostly ownership here and leadership. We have multiple businesses that we've started from the ground up. So we kind of know our stuff and we're happy to lend that support to, if there's some smaller gun builders that are just starting out, like, hey, how do I do this? Let's build this system. Do you have a strong CRM? How is that going to play into it, right? Can you grow and sustain, that level of service and that level of quality as you go forward, right? And we know how to do that. And we're definitely happy to pass that on and see others succeed.
Awesome. So tell us about the action itself. Or first off, what's the price point?
All right. So price point is $12.99. So the thought process that went into it is, yes.
Canadian or US?
US. Yeah. So our thought process going into it was it's a brand new action on the market of really high quality and some really neat innovative features in it. So rather than pricing ourselves low to get people to be interested in it, we'd rather put in that extra effort to demonstrate, hey, no, this is great, right? Hence our loaner program, et cetera, so that we can make sure that everybody's comfortable with it. But that also allows us as a company to flourish and provide the support that we need rather than restricting ourselves cash flow wise as we grow. So that also allows us to keep some consistency. So as we grow, it's not that the price gradually inches up to cover our costs, right? We don't feel that's necessarily fair to our customer base and base as they come on and support us, right? I can't wrap my mind around that, right? Hey, okay, you guys support us, go forward. Oh, now that you've supported us and helped us to get to this point, now it's going to be, whatnot, right? So it doesn't mean that we won't have price increases, but it means that we've come in at a price that allows us to offer our products sustainably.
Sure. Cool. So let's talk about some of the features. When I first got a hold of you guys, I started asking around a little bit to find out some stuff, and they were talking about the bolt handles and some kind of a bearing or something.
Yeah, definitely. So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily unique. We have heard of others that have done it before. I don't know of anybody that's currently pushing it as a going thing as part of their product range. But what we've done is our action incorporates a roller caulking mechanism into the bolt. So what that means is there's a roller bearing in the bolt, so that rather than just a piece of steel, fixed steel sliding down the caulking ram, we have a roller bearing that rolls, right? Just like that. So there's no steel on steel friction, and it reduces the amount of energy dramatically to caulk the action and cycle it and close it, right? So it's a caulk on open, and it's just the nicest, smoothest, buttery feeling back, forward, and down, right?
Sure.
Now, one of the side benefits of that is, I shouldn't actually say side benefit, probably the main benefit of that roller caulking mechanism. It results in something we call our frictionless throw technology. So yes, it's nice and smooth, but it also allows us to have a nice heavy firing pin spring in there, which provides consistent primer strikes, right? So you're burning your powder consistently, you're having consistent velocities, and you're not sacrificing firing pin strength just to make it a little bit lighter in the throw. So, full 90-degree throw with all of that force behind it, but it's nice and smooth. So you kind of get a best of both worlds with it.
So is that a part that's built? How does that fit into the bolt, into the caulking piece, into the bolt handle? Is that is it a hole with a spring and a plug and a detent, or is it?
Yeah. So no, it's literally just a roller bearing on a pin.
Okay.
And so that roller bearing then slides down and up the caulking ramp.
Okay.
So it basically would substitute just a hard fixed piece of steel that goes up and down the caulking ramp.
Okay.
A side note as well for those listening in that are maybe don't have our action. If you just have any sort of a standard action, it's absolutely unreal that I don't think I've ever encountered anybody that consistently lubes the caulking ram.
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of lubrication points and maintenance points in an action and a rifle in general. But it's amazing, even if you do just have a fixed steel piece there that goes up and down the cocking ramp, I'd highly recommend on a regular basis to have a little bit of lubrication in there. And it'll actually lighten your bolt lift substantially.
Yeah, there's a couple of spots that get neglected, right? I put a Savage Action in a big hot tank parts washer one time, closed.
Yeah.
I didn't think nothing of it. I just figured, whatever, and I pulled it out. No joke, I could not get it to open. I had to spray it down with a bunch of Croil to get it to finally open again. That was how bound up it got.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely a good reminder. Things you don't think about, right? Like your mind's, 500 yards down range, and
yeah,
those little things that need to be taken care of.
So what else can you tell us about it? It says is 700 footprint.
Yeah, Joe, do you want to?
Yeah. I mean, I actually just want to say too, just from like a consumer standpoint, just where I first came into this industry is I kind of didn't understand, like in my mind, factory meant like established, and those are like the quality brands. And again, there's so many great products out there like Tika and Weatherby and Seiko and Remington and Browning, X-Bull, and all these guns that are so pinnacle to the market. But I used to think of customization as or custom rifles as like kind of sub tier. What I didn't realize is just where the technology is going and where that industry is now is that like custom rifles actually are almost more trusted than factory rifles in a lot of different ways. May not sell as many rifles, but they come more accurized. They're more true. Everything's actually ready to shoot, and there's more confidence in that custom rifle world. And I didn't actually understand that at first.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to actually be part of something like that, where your quality check process, your attention to detail actually can be a lot more specific in the custom world, which probably all your listeners would agree with. But that was a big shift for me. So coming in, I started to learn about just all the different kind of technology that has been around, and Pristine kind of saw those things and saw what other companies were doing, and just decided, well, Remington 700 footprint, that to me and to us seems like it's got to be that chassis.
Yeah.
It's got to be that stock. So we went with that footprint, and then we looked at our bolt head, and we wanted things to be unique. So we looked at the Weatherby 6-bolt floating bolt head style, and this added into that smooth and sort of frictionless like philosophy that we're building into our action, that things were going to be cycled extremely smooth. It's a good technology. So building that in, we were able to create a bolt that actually has interchangeable bolt heads. So again, wanting customers to engage in this idea of customization and actually understanding their rifle, which is, I think, like a really neat shift in the industry too, because a lot of shooters like have no idea probably how their gun works. So we value gun, like we read that tension of like, we obviously value gunsmiths. They're like the gurus of the industry. We're not ever going to advocate that somebody doesn't talk to gunsmiths, but with where things are at now, we've integrated like a Savage pre-fit barrel nut system.
Oh,
so
sure.
for your average person who's just really curious about how all the components go together and how the harmonics of a gun works, and just really curious of how all these parts, which really in the custom world isn't that many. Like you're looking at a chassis, an action, a barrel, a trigger. So putting all those things together, we've tried to make it as easy as possible. So that comes with our Savage pre-fit barrel nut systems, although we do have such like tight tolerances that we can do pre-fit shoulder barrels as well. But yeah, Remington 700 trigger as well. So during the early stages of testing, we use a lot of trigger tech, and the engineers actually approached us and said they love the connection between trigger tech and our actions. In fact, one of the engineers stated that it was like the best sort of marrying that they've ever seen in an action. That's a great product as well.
Your bolt body is can you just kind of hit on that? Maybe hold it up. I see you got one there. Can you hold it up in front of the camera a bit? You can see like the locking lugs are like the bolt body's like the same diameter the whole way, and then the locking lugs, there's like two sets of three, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah. So the top two are like a slightly larger, and then the bottom four are slightly smaller. And there's a ton of engineering that goes into this. And we've chatted with the engineers at Weatherby. And again, this is just that like funny connection with like a really well-established factory brand. They're like, you guys are doing it the right way. Like they even admitted that they make a great product, but they just love the way we went about it. We integrated the Seiko extractors, dual plungers, our dual extractors. And then on our YouTube, you guys, the listeners, can check that out, and you could see just how simple it is to actually change the bolt head. So someone can go from, a 223 to a 308 within, I don't know, it would take like 10 minutes probably if you knew what you were doing.
Yep.
If
I've done it before.
Yeah. Swapping out your bull head and swapping out your barrel. So we've thought about some practical applications to that. I think one of the most obvious is just like money savings on ammunition.
Yeah, if you like, instead of getting a trainer rifle, you could just get yourself another bolt head and a barrel, and
honestly, yeah, like if you're
first time.
There is some other practical applications to shooting 223. There's certain competitions that have that requirement. But generally speaking, it's a pretty neat selling feature to maybe pay a little bit up front. But in the long run, if you're planning on putting thousands of rounds through, obviously it's going to be a little bit cheaper if you're buying or reloading in the 223 caliber. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So your recoil lug, that's not integrated, is it?
No, it's not. So what we've done, because our action has the interchangeable bolt heads, anytime that you swap out equipment like that, like if you're to swap out a bolt or a bolt head, there can be minute changes in head spacing.
Yep.
So what we actually do as a company is we measure the head spacing for each action that goes out and make sure it's within tolerances. But also we record the exact measurements for every single action that goes out. So if somebody's looking to swap their bolt head, and like let's say that they bought it as a 223 and a couple months later they come to us for a 308 bolt head, we can actually look up their action and take a look at what the head spacing was, and we can suggest a different recoil lug and send it out with it. Just say, let's say that it needed like a 1 thou tweak based on what they're doing and what their exact action is, so that we can keep those tolerances within the 1 thou kind of level, right?
Sure. So that's interesting.
Yeah, we actually just found out, we were visiting some customers yesterday. We just kind of did the rounds of our local area here, and apparently KDEX does that as well.
Oh, really?
So
I don't know if they do it to the extent like that we're doing it, but so one thing that we're adding going forward is like in the box. So when you buy a Pristine Action, you'll see an actual piece of paper that'll actually say the exact head spacing.
Oh, sure.
I think that's what KDEX does, but as far as like them, we don't actually know if they, which again, that's a great Canadian product, but we don't know if they have this, like you can call them and then be like, I bought serial number whatever. Do you have that recorded? I don't know if that's what they do, but that's something we're excited about, especially for anyone wanting to actually get into the interchangeability, and for barrel companies that actually want to produce like a pre-fit barrel and actually feature that on their website, which some barrel companies will actually have the actions listed. They're hesitant with some action companies because of potential loose tolerances. We have found a way to mitigate that, and we're excited about it.
Yeah.
No,
so
that's cool.
basically what it boils down to is anybody, you know, you can adjust head spacing via just the barrel itself and the barrel nut if that's the system that you're going with. But if you've got a shouldered barrel, the worst thing that you want to do is come to a gunsmith or a barrel manufacturer and be like, hey, here's the action. These are the tolerances. You've got 1 thou to work with. No barrel manufacturer is going to like that very much.
Yeah.
No.
This splits the difference, right? So each party should have about 2 thou to work with.
Okay.
And we can bring it into really, really tight tolerances with those recoil lugs that are obviously non-integral.
Sure. What kind of coating is on the action?
So it's not actually a specific coating that's on it, but it undergoes a process when we tumble it to make sure it's hydrophobic, non-rust, etc. So that said, we're actually getting into offering, it's not on the website right now, but going forward, we're going to be actually offering nitriding as well.
Oh, sure.
And that's an option for our actions, right? So we do see a lot that just love like the standard polished steel coating or polished steel exterior on it.
Yep.
But there's companies such as Wooks and such that are, you know, they've got these beautiful chassis systems and it's black. So, you know, the contrast can be nice sometimes, but having that nitriding to match the black, if you especially have a barrel to match that or whatnot.
Right.
Makes it pop.
Yeah. So any Savage pre-fit will work?
Yeah, it's Savage small shank prefits. So we've also spoken to most of the major barrel manufacturers. They're aware of who we are. They have our tenon print and can spin one up for our action, no problem, which is nice too, because especially it's just an interesting difference between Canada and the US as far as gun laws. You have to be, you know, shipping from FFL to FFL. You can't ship person to FFL to, you know, individual person. And in Canada here, heck, we send rifles through Canada Post all the time, willy-nilly, here, there, everywhere.
You can ship down here. You can ship a rifle. Like I could, well, I have an FFL, but if you can ship a rifle to an FFL, you don't have to go FFL to FFL.
Yes, yeah, you can.
But you have to use an FFL as an
transfer.
Is what we're saying. So in Canada, it actually is. It's kind of like how the ATF looks at FFLs quite closely. Like it's a really good system. It's a focused system. In Canada, it's almost like the opposite. They do look at BFLs, business firearms license. That is a really important aspect of Canadian companies, but really they also look at like each PAL owner, possession acquisition license, the individual. So it's just because of there's not that many of us.
Yeah.
The registration is like a little bit different, but it's just interesting. We've noted that it's somewhat interesting that like one PAL owner can transfer a gun to another PAL owner.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's what we're trying. That's what we're
yeah.
saying.
So it makes it nice, right, for our U.S. customers, right? If they can just call up a barrel manufacturer and be like, "Hey, I need a pristine shouldered barrel," so and then they don't have to send their action in. The barrel company measures everything, mates the barrel with the action exactly, and then has to send it back, right? That kind of eliminates it. So we're doing our best to be in contact. Yeah, oh, completely. So we're doing our best to be in touch with all of the major barrel manufacturers to make sure that they know who we are, what we do, and the specs for our action, right? So somebody can just call them up and be like, "Hey, I need a pristine barrel up," and away we go.
This is pretty off topic, but just talking about Canada and not being many people up there. Do you guys watch Letterkenny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I saw an interview with the main guy with Letterkenny, and they were talking about how Canada's small and everybody knows somebody from everywhere, and he was like down in the States or something doing some kind of a tour of something or whatever, and they're like, well, like this guy, and he's like, from this place, he's like, yeah, and they like just happened to, it's like, they're like, that's the most Canadian thing to ever happen down here, This is pretty funny. They were going on. There's not so many people, so when you start getting out there, everybody just knows everybody, and it was just funny.
Yeah,
Letterkenny's
actually like a fairly accurate stereotype. Like it's obviously not entirely true because there's 30 million of us, so it's you don't know everybody, but you guys
it's like the population of California before everybody left.
Yeah,
there's 60 million, I think. Yeah, I don't know, but you guys obviously have like 10 times the population that we have.
Yeah,
we got like 10 times the space, but I actually have, like, I went to school in the States and I was legitimately asked, do you know this person? And they were like they were in Toronto, which is like the other side of the country.
Right.
I just went with it. I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh. Yeah, known them for a long time.
Yeah, cousins. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, that was just, I don't know. Letterkenny's pretty funny, and just, I don't know. It reminds me of my friends from Thunder Bay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if this is true, but I heard just a couple days ago, I was chatting with a PR firm in the States that works with a bunch of big companies, and they were saying 94% of the firearm stuff manufactured in the US stays in the US, which is kind of a mind-boggling thing to think about. Like most of what you guys produce when it comes to firearms actually just stays in the US. There isn't a massive focus on the international side of things. That could be way off. So definitely don't want to be quoted for that, but this should come up in the sense of like, in a podcast with most of your listeners are probably US listeners.
It's US, Canada, then Australia. That's the top three.
Yeah. And we see it, in all honesty, as a bit of a weakness when we are talking to like American customers or rifle builders, and they're like, they like our action, but we're an all American like they'll say they're all American made rifle.
We're North America.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to spin that, but I just want to say we love that national pride. We love that sense of like connection to, at least, like, especially having jobs in the States. So I'm kind of underselling Pristine here, but I just want to acknowledge that like we see that as a value, but we want to actually just come alongside and like maybe try to break out of that stereotype of being we're not an inferior product by any means. We are North American made. If we could manufacture in the States, and in fact, maybe one day in the future it will be, like, we love Americans is I guess what I'm saying. There's so many value sets within like the gun communities in Canada,
right.
And
and there's actually parts of our operation, right? Like I'm going down to Washington, to Oregon next week, and we're actually talking with a partnership of one of our clients to have like a joint partnership to facilitate the storage and shipping of our actions out of the States, right?
Yeah.
So,
which we already do have right now with an importer.
So just kind of bringing it in-house, like job creation, right? Like it's going to create some jobs.
So if somebody does order an action and I call up and I order a Pristine action, where does it, what's the channels that I have to go through to do that? I mean, you don't just put it in the mail and send it to me, right? It's got to come.
Yeah, it's pretty close though. So what we do is as soon as an order comes in, there's two different ways, right? So both our dealers and the average customer can just go to our website and order one. And our staff will then, as soon as that order comes in, we connect with our warehouse that's across the border in Washington there, Borderview, and they have our product stocked, ready to go at all times. So then they take our order, like we send them the FFL, all the info, and they get it all ready for shipping. And generally, like officially what we'll say is we ship within 5 business days. But the reality of it is there's really no reason why, unless somebody's away or et cetera, that it wouldn't be shipped the same day.
Sure.
So, and then we just resupply our Washington warehouse on a weekly basis. So, right about now, actually, we generally take a look and go, hey, how are we doing? And anything that we need to transition to there gets done. It gets picked up Monday, and away we go, right? Wash, rinse, repeat.
So if
And
you're
that's
actually related, it's my
awesome.
fault for having these guys tied up.
So super tight, like frictionless process with the states. But if you have listeners that are international, so in Australia or the UK, one is we have like retailers and rifle builders out there already, but that process is pretty interesting. Jared does a lot of them. It's called X-Coal, and it's basically I mean, why don't you speak into it?
Yeah, so it's our export process here. So we don't have somebody handling it for us. We handle it internally. I handle it internally. And I've developed really good relationships with the government department that handles that, right? So that they know who we are, what we're doing, what we're all about. I kind of keep them posted. So it actually facilitates the process a lot quicker. So there's an online form that I fill out with a variety of information, some information about the end user, who it's going to, so that our government knows on our side what the use is going to be for it. And generally it takes about 10 business days. And we get an approval, and then we can ship direct out to whomever it's going to, all around the globe. So, I mean, just another interesting bit on that, because we're Canada, we don't have the ITAR standards that you guys are held to internally.
Oh, sure.
We have actually had interest from US businesses and even the US government itself to get actions out globally, right? Because we have a mechanism to do that to a number of countries, right? Unless there's a trade embargo or some sort of international trade delicacies that we need to avoid that region. It's very easy for us to, within a couple weeks' time, be shipping anywhere in the globe, right?
Yeah. Someone down at SHOT Show actually did tell us, again, whether this is true or not, that the American military has actually used like Canada as a place to ship things out of for operations that they're dealing with in certain countries. So I have no idea what that means and what that is, but it's just in one sense, it's definitely believable, just because.
You need some missiles? Call Canada, eh? They don't care.
Yeah. I mean, it's still American stuff, I assume, but somehow it's like, just it drives across the border and then goes. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. So, all right. So it's not too hard. You've got them in stock down here, so they do come shipped straight from your warehouse, and you said Washington, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's nice and easy. Any 700 trigger will do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's 2 pins, no trigger hanger.
Yeah. Okay. Direct. The bolt is replaceable, nice and quick and easy, no big deal. They're the bolt head, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Also, something that I'll mention is the magazine well there for it. So one of the things that we've done is, it's AICS compatible. There's some, there's
what about AW mags?
Pardon?
AW mags?
Yeah. So basically, rather than going by specification of which types and which types not, basically what our general go-to is we have tried pretty much every mag with it, and our users have tried every mag, and the only one that doesn't work is a double stack AR style.
Oh, sure.
So aside from that, you're good to go. Also, as far as the magazine goes, we recommend that you use a magazine, especially if it's a metal magazine, of course, with a binder plate, just to make sure that those rounds feed up nice and well. So that's our official stance on it, but we've heard many competitive shooters that have used mags without binder plates.
Sure.
And it still feeds quite well. That might be something that we look at as we go forward, of taking a look at that feeding ramp there and seeing if we can officially make that stance that, hey, no binder plates are required. But yeah, it's universally accessible for any mag except for double stack AR styles.
Sure. So it will take an AW, but not like an AR.
No.
Cool. So right now it's a short action.
Yeah, right now we've got a short action non-magnum. That's our initial offering. And because it's our only action, it's just called the Pristine Actions. So
Yeah.
we're actually in the works of a kind of like a brand identity exercise, and obviously naming our actions is there's going to be more coming. So
Yeah, tell your listeners to write in, like give us tell us what they would call it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Even like on the grander thematic thing, like is there a theme that we should be following, given that our company's called Pristine? And
I feel a giveaway on the horizon here. If somebody sends in like a naming theme that you guys run with.
Yeah. I actually already did set up a percentage off code, which we'll get to at the end, but we got that set up for your listeners. So excited about that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds that'd be cool. So I don't think I have to tell the listeners. I think you just did, but send in if you got an idea. Send them in to Pristine Actions. What's the website?
Yeah, shootpristine.com.
Shoot Pristine.
Yep, and you can find us on that handle for Facebook and Instagram, and sales at pristineactions.com to email us.
Yeah,
and away you go.
Awesome. Come up with a good name. Send it in.
Yeah. We do, like, we should say a few more things too about the offerings as far as like this initial product.
Yeah.
Because you can get the in 223. So like that bolt face diameter, which has a ton of different calibers, and then also 308. So if you want to do like a 6.5 Creedmoor, then we also have 445. Yeah. And left-handed, which is like, we have to say that because we get asked all the time. Do you guys have a left-handed action? And the answer is yes. Yeah. We've got all the right components to make it a proper left-handed components. Yeah. Well, actually I guess there was quite a bit that went into it, more than we thought.
Yeah. Well, so when you are paying attention to detail and such, right? Like if you look at the action, even the scope rail there, like there's a little bevel, right? So if you're doing a left hand and you're on the opposite side, now your rails have to have that little bevel on the other side, right? So there's a little even like the bolt heads, right? Like where the extractor is and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, everything's got to be mirrored and
So a little bit more went into it than just switching the bolt handle and an injection port, but
And then
you guys do anything like left-hand bolt, right-hand ejection or anything like that?
Well, I actually was going to bring that up with you. Like somebody actually just asked about that further which this is a pitch for our F class as well. But they said right hand, left port is like an F class thing.
It certainly is. Like I've heard it before, but I haven't necessarily seen a huge demand, right? Where somebody's like actually wanting to place an order, and if we had it, then they would. So it's something that I'm monitoring right now. And again,
what would be the practical aspects of that?
So,
what
maybe you want to jump here.
So one interesting thing. So this is not something you see very often, but the couple of times that I did, it kind of made sense, right? Yeah. Right-handed shooter with a left-handed bolt and a right-hand eject, right? And then when they're shooting, the rifle is all bagged up in the front and steady, and you're not holding the rifle with the front or whatever. So they'd shoot, and then without breaking anything, they'd run that bolt with the other hand, eject out the right side.
That's pretty cool.
Which was a neat thing, right? Like, is it groundbreaking? Is it going to change your world and your life? Probably not. But it was kind of a neat thing.
Time saving.
Well, I think it depends on your style too. So I was chatting with a gentleman that was explaining to me that his reasons for doing it was because he liked to grab brass with a certain hand. Like, so he didn't just let it eject, right? Like he wants to pick the brass out and then his feeding hand. And between grabbing the brass and feeding, it was just the rhythm that worked best, right? For how he does it specifically.
That seems like such a pro shooter flex. The whole when you cycle it out and then grab the brass midair.
Yeah.
Makes sense. What they're saying is everything is under control, and that's a massive aspect, right? So you've gotten into a rhythm. And you understand exactly where that brass is going to fling. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yep.
It's just funny to watch.
That's it. We don't have any plans to do that in the near future, but that kind of feeds into like our research and development and release schedule kind of going forward, right? So we have our left hand that is now available. The website will be updated shortly with that. So that's good to go. Things that are in the works right now are our long action Magnum. So
and short action Magnum.
So those are pretty much like they're developed. We're testing them right now. So we were out last weekend testing 300 Win Mag rounds, and this weekend is 338 Lapua. So we're just kind of getting into the fine tuning minutia type stuff right now. But
so 338 Lapua's, that's longer than a standard long action, isn't it?
The magazine is 4 inches 5, but it's going to be compatible. Like it's extended long action will also be a thing, I guess.
It'll be able to run those. That's the plan. So we've had definitely enough feedback to warrant that. Most people that we've heard of that are wanting long action, they want that as well. So
yeah. Any plans for the real big actions, shy tax or anything like that? 50s?
Or Canadian?
So you know what? No,
Canadian. What's that supposed to mean? No, we don't do that stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah. So, but the thing is here's the.
Hold on, wait. What can't you do?
Our 50 BMGs got taken away from us a number of months ago.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we're not allowed to own those anymore. So
I actually got very close, like probably within minutes of velocity, like joules, as in basically the Weatherby Mark V was on the table to be a prohibited weapon. But Canadians, if you're listening, thank you so much. Like people banned, it was crazy. Like it was like literally in a clutch moment, the bill was being passed in such a greasy way, but there was enough sort of attention that reversed this from happening, because it was about to tumble into basically a ton of hunting rifles were going to be on the table.
I kind of remember something like that. It had to do with Photon's energy or something, joules or whatever, right?
Yeah, 10,000 joules. Anything over 10,000 joules, which like you don't think about it, but the Weatherby Mark V was on the table, the SKS, like a bunch of hunt rifles that people use for hunting, like their whole life, like the indigenous communities, everyone was actually very upset.
So what's just breaking the 10,000 joules?
Well, the Weatherby, which was interesting to find out.
Yeah, what caliber though, right? Is it
so like a 375 H&H, I think, is banned.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty much the limit.
Yeah.
So anything under that. So
this ban was actually going after magazine size, which was another greasy thing. Like that was the original kind of pressure that was being put on. Anything over 5. So stock magazine that had over 5 rounds was in question.
It's very confusing because there's a number. So the joules, magazine capacity, and then outside of all that, whether those applied or not, they literally just listed them by make and model with no sort of reasoning.
There were guns like that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like just individual, like I think it was hundreds of pages long, right? They listed every rifle by make and model.
That's
and not
crazy.
necessarily giving a reason why that specific rifle was banned.
That's crazy. So what about you guys don't have any ELR shooting up there then, really?
Well, I mean, 338 Lapua, I guess for some reason we're allowed to have that still, and depending on the application of it. But 50 BMG, no. So we do have ELR. Some of the main calibers though that you might use for ELR, we're not able to.
Yeah,
and
right.
it's not always just by caliber. Sometimes it's by specific rifle. So it's very, very convoluted. Like for us to, there's a question period in our House of Commons to the opposition or to the Liberal Party, right, about what specifically was banned, because it's very confusing. So the opposition would ask, what about this one? And then the Liberal Party had to like page through all their stuff and like give an answer of yes or no, it's banned, and then they'd ask why, and there was no particular reason. It's just because it's on the list. So it's very convoluted. But the funny thing is our government loves us exporting rifles because it's good for the economy.
Right.
So
Right.
as a business firearms license owner, you can, just like in the States, you have various levels, right? And as a manufacturer, we can be a manufacturer of prohibited weapons, Tommy gun, you name it. Doesn't matter. And we can take it out, we can shoot it, we can have it in our houses, but because it's under the business firearms license, it doesn't matter. No individual is allowed to have those. But as a business, we're allowed to have them for testing, development, manufacturing purposes, as long as the goal is for them to leave the country.
Sure.
So, I don't know.
Everything's illegal unless you've got the money, right?
So circling it back around to it, it's very appealing for me to say we're going to be developing a 50 BMG, because then guess what I can have?
Yeah.
50.
There you go. There you go.
Funny side.
Even the 50 actions, right? If you're doing any like the big shy tax and
completely,
that big stuff that you need a big action for,
Yeah, well, so my daughters are 10 and 12, and their favorite thing is watching Demolition Ranch. So like 50 BMG is like ingrained into their minds. So like even my girls ask me like, "Hey Dad, when are you guys gonna have a 50 BMG?" I'm like, "It's coming, maybe."
We're talking.
Yeah.
No, that'd be cool. There's I don't want to say there's a hole in the market for that, but it's like a lot of these companies that are making actions, they kind of skip over some of those real big ones. They make the short action, they make the competition model and the hunting model, then they do a long action, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
And they don't always get up into the real big stuff. So there's a limited market in whose actions you can get,
Yeah. I don't know if you can tell, but I've mentioned like which is thank you for having us on, because we're not necessarily like pro shooters, but we do have some insight because we chat with so many people and there's so many different opinions on stuff. But chatting with a guy that seemed to know some direction that was about to come on the market, and he was saying ELR seems posed to just like break in a really new way. It's going to be a next big thing, is pushing those boundaries.
They just had a match out in Spear Point. They were shooting what was her name? I can't remember the gal's name, but she just hit like 4,227 yards.
I actually saved that on my phone. Yeah, who was that? That's awesome. Like records are being broken. But hey, on the flip side of that too, we take a tally of how many people ask us if we're going to do a 22 like precision rimfire action.
Yeah, I'd say that's where we've actually had the most feedback, right, and most questions coming at us is on the 22 side of things.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be like, I think one insight we got was like sort of an economy piece happening, like an economic reality of, here in Canada, again, handguns were just banned. So a lot of guys who were going and shooting handguns and just going out to the range, maybe shooting 100 yards, 200 yards, are now looking at kind of a new hobby. And there's obviously something really cost effective about shooting 22.
Yeah.
So,
and we suffer from the same primer shortage as well. So, rimfire, like you can even see it like the PRS rimfire world, and the number of rimfire matches, like even in our area here, like we're British Columbia, Canada. And I would say like looking at our BC PRL league, quite a few, like I'd say at least half of those matches are 22. So
really? Rimfire?
Yeah. Like rimfire. Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, I don't think that is going to take away from any the increasing sort of attention towards center fire, bolt actions, ELR, but it's going to be adding to just people's shooting hobbies. I mean, 22 has always been a staple, but now
Right.
with what Voodoo's doing and some of these other companies, it seems it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to get more people involved, you know.
Yep. Yeah, and at a younger age, like learning how to.
Yeah. So guys, we're rolling up on our hour here. Is there anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers everything. Yeah, it's been an absolute honor to be on here chatting with you and going over some stuff. And
I appreciate you guys taking some time to come on. So let's go over the website again. It's shootpristine.com.
Yep, shootpristine.com. Instagram is shootpristine. Facebook is shootpristine. And if you want to contact us via email, it's sales@shootpristine.com. We also have a dedicated customer service team here. So if you call us, someone will answer or call you back very shortly. That's actually an internal team member and able to credibly talk to you, answer questions, etc. So, and that number is 855-784-7468. And yeah, you can get a hold of us, chat anytime.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one of these. Yeah.
I just want to say we'll hopefully we'll get this added in the notes, but for anyone listening, you go to the website, you'll see a coupon promotional code at checkout. Just write Precision Rifle Media, all one word, you get 30% off. So
any capitals or anything?
No.
I will get that.
Yeah.
In the show notes. So anybody that actually, you know what? I'm just going to put that there's a promo code in there and then they have to listen.
Yeah. I think someone on your team may have got some pictures as well that might be in the show notes. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. I'll get some pictures in the show notes. Otherwise your website's really nice. So anybody looking that you guys got,
yeah. Actually, there's a brand new one coming.
A better one.
It's going to be way better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, this one, I mean, it shows everything and it's a good website. So, I mean, there's the pictures, anybody who's interested in checking it out too. I appreciate the promo code, guys. That's awesome. So everybody go out and buy a new action.
Heck yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Hey, hang on the line for me, would you? But with that, everybody, we're going to wrap this one up. It's been great talking to these guys, our friends from the Great White North. Their action seems pretty sweet. I'm interested in checking it out, especially with the roller cocking piece they're talking about. I think that's going to be kind of interesting. With that, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns for me, Kirk at precisionriflemedia.com, or go to precisionriflemedia.com, click on the Contact Us section. That'll shoot me an email. If you want to come on the show, suggest a guest or anything like that, you can go there, either one of those, or Elise, ELYSE, at precisionriflemedia.com. That'll probably get you a quicker response. Otherwise, Facebook, Precision Rifle Media. Twitter is, I think, Precision Rifle 01 or Precision Rifle 1. We're on there. And then Instagram is Precision Rifle Media. And then also, these are for anybody that's listening or whatever. We're on YouTube now too. So these are all on YouTube as well, if that's easier for you to listen on. So with that, everybody, take care. Try to get the range. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.